Shake up at 5:30 a.m., laundry situation not good. And when your focus is on helping your clients, it's easy to forget about yourself. But NASM knows trainers.
Morning, Ryan. Is your Taylor?
And staying in front of the day isn't always
Nice,
as simple
Ryan.
as 1,
What's
2,
up?
3. So when the unexpected has you pressing pause,
What's the latest on creatine?
I'm going to get back to you on that.
let NASM1 help you press play. Visit NASM.org to sign up for a membership today.
Hey everyone, welcome to Strong Mind, Strong Body. I'm your host, Angie Miller, and today we're going to talk about something that I bet you've experienced. Those moments when your emotions completely take over and you find yourself in full-blown freak out mode. I've been there before. You know what I'm talking about, I'm assuming. Maybe you've snapped at your kids over something minor. You sent an email that you instantly regretted. Or, like me, maybe you had a total meltdown in your driveway. But I'm going to tell you that story in a minute. We're going to break down what's actually happening in those moments because it's something called an amygdala hijack. And more importantly, I'm going to share some practical tools to help you keep your cool when life gets really heated. So let me share my driveway story. A couple years ago, by the way, I did an episode called Amygdala Hijack, How to Stop Freaking Out. And that was in 2022, I guess. And I got a lot of emails after that, a lot of responses, a lot of interest in this whole amygdala hijack thing. And I remember Chris, when he was on my show a couple of years ago, talked about how when he was going through his divorce, he had to take a course in the state of Arizona. And one of the things that they talked about was kind of the stress response and the amygdala hijack. So it is pretty powerful. So let me share my driveway story because it illustrates what we're talking about. Picture this. I'm the caregiver for my mom. I'm managing two daughters. One's a preteen, one's a full-on teenager. My spouse is in a bit of a mood and I'm trying to coordinate with caretaker. So everyone needed space that morning. And as I'm trying to escape the chaos because I'm trying to get to work, my husband's at the garage door trying to tell me that one more thing. So I'm kind of rolling down my window, half paying attention to backing out, half paying attention to what he's trying to tell me. My brain going, just get out of here. This is chaos. Well, in my attempt to make a quick getaway, it ended up where I backed right into the caretaker's car. It wasn't my finest moment, and it only got messier from there, cost a whole lot of money, and it digressed, let me tell you. But what's going on in those moments? That's what we call an amygdala hijack. It's a fancy term, but stay with me because I think understanding an amygdala hijack is really, really important because more and more we're talking about emotional regulation. And emotional regulation in today's climate is key, right? It's about getting along with people at work, getting along with people on the road, getting along with your family. Being able to regulate your emotions makes you safe. If you can't regulate, people don't want to be around you because you're freaking out all the time, and that makes you very, very unpredictable. So think of it like your emotional brain staging a coup against your rational brain. That's what an amygdala hijack is. Your emotional brain stages a coup against your rational brain. So here's the simple version. We get stressed or overwhelmed, and the emotional part of our brain basically says, I'm in charge now. Well, we all know that when we're in high emotion, for that high emotion to take the wheel of the car is pretty scary. And you know what? Anytime you see somebody acting crazy on the road, guess what? Their brain has staged a coup. They're having a full-on amygdala hijack. So your brain says, that emotional part of your brain says, I'm in charge now. And it takes over before your thinking brain, right? The thinking brain, the brain that's more logical says, hey, wait a minute. Let's think this through, right? It's like the irrational versus the rational brain. And it's not just about anger. You don't just have a full-on amygdala hijack when you're angry. A lot of times it's anxiety. A lot of times it's fear, or it's just this feeling of being very, very overwhelmed. Could be driven by sleep deprivation, could be driven by a lot of high emotive things going on in your life, difficult relationships, whatever it is. But whether it's anxiety, fear, being overwhelmed, or anger, maybe you have found yourself bursting into tears during a work meeting or at a time when you're like, oh my gosh, where did that come from? The floodgates open and you just kind of want to crawl into a hole. Maybe you find yourself stress eating an entire bag of chips or that bag of Halloween candy. Maybe you hide in your bathroom during the holidays because you want to avoid family drama. Or maybe you send that passive aggressive text that you know you shouldn't send, but it's like your emotional brain is like, oh, they deserve this. So, why does it matter today? Well, I think that today, more than ever, we're dealing with more triggers. Our phones are pinging constantly, sending, with news alerts and notifications from every single social media channel. Plus, a lot of us have multiple jobs. And so we have emails with different companies and organizations. We juggle work life and home life, and often we're juggling them in the exact same space. Social media, we've got that. So it's always showing us everyone's highlight reel. I call it the best of everyone's life, right? It's like the best of episode of everyone's life. And so no matter how great your life is or not so much, it always feels like we pale in comparison to everyone else. We're also expected to respond to everything instantly, right? And AI is making that even more pronounced. Like if you own your own business, you know that they say that if you don't have an auto response in your email, people automatically go on to the next person. So we're expected to respond immediately. And let's not forget the media, the barrage of good and bad information that's out there. And oh my gosh, politics. Let's not even go there. But our society here in the US and around the world, we're more polarized than ever. So there is a ton of anxiety and underlying anger amongst many of us. So no wonder we sometimes lose it because we're human and emotions sometimes can drive our behavior. But here's the good news. If you recognize what's happening, you can train your brain to respond differently. And that's the truth. So, I'm going to share some practical solutions, some real world strategies that actually work. And I'm not going to just say, hey, take deep breaths, because yes, it does help. Breathing helps. Breathing is what we do to live, but breathing is also something that we do because it really does downregulate our nervous system. I use it all the time, but I know that the minute I say breathing, people are like, "Ugh, I'm sick of hearing about that." But here's some other strategies. The first one, to kind of deal with this whole amygdala hijack is something called the traffic light technique. And it's really simple, but it's a powerful way to manage when you're in high emotion. So I'm going to kind of break it down for you. We've got red, which is stop and recognize. So this is when you're in the awareness phase. So, something happens, and I'm going to give you an example here. Something happens and you notice the physical warning signs, right? Something happens that triggers you. All of a sudden, your heart starts racing, your chest gets really tight, your throat gets constricted, you got sweaty palms, a clenched jaw, your face might turn red, your breathing gets shallow, you cannot get good breath. So ask yourself, obviously, am I triggered right now? And kind of what's triggering you? Because again, red is that awareness phase. You feel this full on flush or flooding of your bodily responses. Yellow is pause and assess. Okay, red is you're aware of it now. Yellow is pause and assess. And this is where it's time to evaluate. This is the take 90 seconds rule. That's 90 seconds is kind of the amount of time that it typically takes for the stress hormones to start to dissipate. So ask yourself, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that here in a minute, but ask yourself during this pause and assess phase, during the yellow phase, what are my options here? What would a calmer, more regulated me do in this situation? And another question I think that's important to ask is how important will this be in 24 hours? Right? Because in the moment, everything's important. But what if it's not? What if 24 hours from now, you're going to be like, did I seriously get mad that, my wife loaded the dishwasher the wrong way? I mean, think about some of the silly fights that you get in with your partner, right? They are pretty silly if you go back and look at them. And then use a pattern interrupt. So, you're looking at your options. What would a calmer you do? Is this going to be important in 24 hours? And then do a pattern interrupt, right? You've got that 90 seconds. Take a sip of water, step away for a minute, change your physical position. So if you're standing, sit down, right? Get out of that big physical power position, sit down. touch something cold, something to shock your nervous system, right? Shock you back into reality. Then the green period is choose and proceed. This is your action phase. So this is where you get to consciously choose your response. So options here could include have the conversation later. So in that 90 seconds that you're breathing or you're taking a sip of water or you're touching something cold or you're just kind of turning away for a moment, now is when you get to turn around and take action and choose your response. Hey, can we have this conversation later? I don't think I'm going to be good right now. Or maybe then you go back and you write about what you want to say so that when you do come back, you say what you need to say in a regulated manner. Maybe you say, hey, can we have this conversation later? I need to get another perspective, or whatever it takes for you to step away, right? So take that 90 seconds. If you're in the car and you're in road rage, then take that 90 seconds, grip the steering wheel, shake your hands out, do a breath, do something, kind of make noises with your mouth. Humming is really good. Okay. But it gives you a chance to move forward mindfully rather than reactively. The power of this technique is that it's easy to remember. Everyone knows traffic lights. Also, it can be done in 90 seconds. It works in any situation and it can become automatic with practice. So I'm going to give you a couple examples of the traffic light technique in action. Let's say that a work scenario, your coworker takes credit for a project in a meeting. We've all had that situation where somebody takes credit for something. It's kind of annoying. I know it happens. Okay. So the red is you notice your coworker taking credit. Your face starts to get hot. Your hands are shaking under the table. Physical signs that you're about ready to go right in and respond. You're going to react. So yellow would be, okay, you're getting dysregulated. Yellow is instead of calling them out immediately, excuse yourself from the situation. Take a drink of water. Go out and jot a few notes about what you want to say and how you want to say it. And then ask yourself, what's the most professional way to handle this? That's your 90-second pause. That's your 90-second yellow light where you go, okay, before I tear off and go right in head on to this situation, what can I do? Green, now you get to make that choice. You can address it privately after the meeting. Hey, I noticed you presented my thoughts or, my idea. Can we discuss how we can collaborate better next time? Or schedule a meeting with your boss and, review. Hey, this is what happened. This is how I see it. How can we do this differently? So that's red, yellow, green in action. Okay. So the key is that yellow phase again creates a space between the trigger and the response. So you get to choose your reaction rather than going all in. So a second way to deal when you feel an emotional hijack coming on or an amygdala hijack coming on is the 90-second reset. Let's go deep dive into that a minute. So the truth is that most emotional chemicals can flush through your body in about 90 seconds. So according to neuroscientist Dr. Jill Bolt Taylor in her book, My Stroke of Insight, her research showed that when an emotion is triggered, the chemical response in your body takes about 90 seconds to surge through it and clear out. After that initial stage, any continued emotional response from us is that because we chose to stay in that emotional loop. So, according to her research, 90 seconds to flush out. If we continue to stay dysregulated, according to her research, it's our choice. And that's kind of hard because we're in charge of our choices, right? So, think about it. If your emotional buttons get pushed, 2 seconds is a long time. 90 seconds? Kind of a really long time, right? Because that's a minute and a half that can make or break the outcome of a situation, depending on what you do and how the words that you use. So if your emotional responses trigger a release of chemicals that take 90 seconds to go through your body, what if you can learn to recognize those chemical responses and let them work through your body so you choose better thoughts, emotions, and reactions, right? That's the best part. You get to choose that response. And if you do it over and over again, you create new neural networks. Because remember, the beauty of our neurons is that there's plasticity in our ability to learn and to change. So our brain is constantly rewiring itself. So if we practice doing things differently and we use those 90 seconds to downregulate appropriately, we truly can change our life and our reactions to situation. So let me tell you a little bit about how the 90-second, just the whole 90-second rule works if you don't want to use the red, yellow, green light, because these techniques are going to speak to you differently. So the first 30 seconds, again, recognize the emotion. Name what you're feeling. Notice the physical sensations. So the emotion might be, oh my gosh, I'm so angry right now. What happens when I'm angry? I tense up. My shoulders go lifted. My stomach starts hurting and I get a bad headache. That's me. That's my response. The middle 30 seconds, then in the 90-second reset, is let the feelings peak. Okay. Just let them come on. Don't try to shut them down. You can't put a lid on a boiling pot. Let the feelings peak. Keep breathing. Don't fight it. Final 30 seconds, feel the intensity start to fade. Notice your body calming. Prepare to respond rationally. That's all it is. The first 30 seconds, you're recognizing and naming. The second 30, you're just breathing through it, trying not to fight it. Maybe you're pushing against an immovable object. The final 30 seconds, you're just going to notice your body calming. Try it sometime. Next time you feel super dysregulated and you really just want to pop off and say something, try it. Take that 90 seconds, see what happens. So I'm going to give you kind of a real world example. Let's say that a client kind of offers you some constructive feedback that you perceive as a criticism. Maybe in the past, you would immediately start defending yourself, shutting down, or of course, you're thinking about all the reasons you don't like that client so that it can be about them and not you. So let's use the 90-second reset. That it comes out of their mouth, you notice that defensive feeling. Your heart's racing, your face feels hot. So now you count to 90. Excuse yourself for a minute. Literally just say, can you excuse me for a minute? I have to go to the restroom, or I have to check on something. Take a reasonable pause. Maybe they're working through an exercise if you're training them as a personal trainer. Maybe they're processing a task you gave them if you're working with them as a coach. After the chemicals clear, then you can respond. Hey, thanks for the feedback. Let me think about this and get back to you later. All right. That's that 90-second pause. That just is that difference between I could really kill this relationship or I can respond calmly. All right. Remember that the initial chemical surge always passes. You just need to wait it out. And I'm not saying that it's always going to pass in 90 seconds, but I am saying that we know it will pass. We've seen it. We've experienced it as humans. We've been in strong emotion until we're not. We all know what that feels like. So also the key is to remember when you're hooked by negative thoughts. Okay. So whether that's breathing, playing a song, doing a tapping technique, a grounding exercise, something that brings you joy, or just focusing on something that you're looking forward to, whatever it takes, just do me a favor. Exercise your right to choose. And please don't blame others when your choice is to bite the negative hook, right? Exercise your right to choose. So another way that we can deal with an amygdala hijack is called pattern interrupts. And these are just real simple interruptive patterns that I'm going to offer. So just a way to change your physical state in the moment. So for me, a lot of times it's just taking a sip of water, right? Taking a quick sip of water because it's that pause, right? You literally could spend an hour just drinking, a minute just drinking water, not an hour. That would be a lot of water. But that would give you that pause to help you kind of down regulate and think. Another one, good pattern interruption is just step outside for a minute, right? All of a sudden, everything is focused on what's going on outside, what you hear, what you smell, what you feel, what you, what you taste, all those things, what you see. Another one is just to move into a different room, walk through a doorway. There's actually research on there walking through doorways. Like walking through doorway is like an automatic reset. Put on music, stand up and shake your body, blow out steam, whistle. Again, hum. Okay. These literally interrupt that emotional takeover. So, another way to deal then, so again, I'm Angie Miller. This is Strong Mind, Strong Body. And I'm talking about an amygdala hijack. I think this is a really, really powerful episode for all of us because I think that even if you're not in strong emotion a lot, you are human and you do experience strong emotion at different times. So, another one is the daily check in practice. So, a daily check in practice would be regular emotional temperature checks. Okay. Not checking your body temperature, but your emotional temperature checks. Notice your stress level before it hits a critical phase. It's like checking your gas tank before you're running on empty. So here's a detailed breakdown of a daily check in practice. Think of it like an emotional weather report for yourself. Okay. So when to check in? You could check in the morning by setting an intention. I literally do this. In the morning, I set an intention. Today, I'm going to invite positivity. Today, I'm going to, whatever that intention is. Midday is the course correct. You set that intention, not going the way you thought it was going to go. Midday, you get to change your course. You don't have to stay on the road you're on. If you notice you're getting dysregulated, you're annoyed with your boss, you're annoyed with your kids, you're annoyed with your partner, okay, course correct. Leave your home for a minute. Go take a 5-minute drive. Do whatever you need to do to kind of reset yourself. Then in the evening, it's a great time to reset and reflect. So before high stakes situation, this is a good time to do it. And also after triggering kind of events. Okay. So a quick check-in method could just be 30 seconds. You could just do rate your stress 1 to 10. You could just scan your body for tension spots, name your mood, identify your needs. So that quick check-in could be, okay, my stress level is a 3. Okay. Scan my body. Where am I carrying tension? A little bit in my neck and shoulders. Name my mood. Pretty settled right now. Identify my needs. Huh. Where do we begin on that one? Let's talk about needs. All right. A deeper check in would be 2 to 3 minutes. So now you get to ask yourself, what's my energy level? Okay. What's taking up my mental space? Oh, that's a big one. A lot of times we find out that the same things take up our mental space, right? Well, like we're always thinking about our boss or thinking about our partner or thinking about our job. And then what do I need more or less of today? All right. What do I need more or less of today? And then what's one thing I could do for myself right now? Right now. So that's a good one, right? What do you do? What can you do right now in this moment? Because that's the only moment you can control. So here's a real quick practical example. You're on your morning commute. I know not a lot of us have morning commutes anymore, but let's just say you're commuting somewhere. And you notice that your shoulders are tense and your mind is racing, and oh, these people just don't know how to drive. So your stress level is like a 7 to 10. What you need is some buffer time, right? So maybe you got a big day ahead of you. You're driving to this situation. You don't really want to go there. So in your mind, build in some blocks of time in your calendar. Maybe it can't be today. Maybe today's an insane day, but that doesn't mean that tomorrow you can't look forward to a 10-minute block or a 30-minute block where you can go take a walk or do something good for yourself. Okay. So those are just some simple kind of check-ins for that one. So another one is just, to help you do check-ins would be to set phone reminders. Um, Also keep mood trackers. I mean, there's so many apps now that will help you track your moods and then just notice your patterns over time. So, in terms of this amygdala hijack, I have another kind of tool for your toolkit, and that is to create a calm down kit. And basically, a calm down kit, I'm going to go through all the different kind of techniques or ideas that I've got. So, a physical kit could literally be kept in your car on your desk. So, here's one that I've got. I know if you're listening, you can't see it, but I have one of these little poppers and I'm constantly popping it. I listen to meetings and I'm pop, 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 pop. Okay, I've always got something that I'm fidgeting with in my hands, whether it's a stress ball or something. So it could be a stress ball, a fidget toy, a smooth stone. I got one of those too. It says breathe. It could be an essential oil roller. It could be gum or mints. Could be soft fabric. You just touch something soft, or we could touch Bodhi, who's behind me, my little puppy. So the physical kit could be sensory items, or another thing, it could be quick tools. It could be your favorite tea bag, so you could go make a cup of tea. It could be an emergency snack because hunger is real. It could be headphones to block out noise. It could be a face mist or, that cooling spray that you put in the fridge. I love that stuff. Could be hand lotion for grounding. I've got that on my desk too. I have all the tools here. A digital kit that you could use would be, a 90 seconds, a 90-second playlist, like a calm song, not a playlist, but a calm song. It could be a guided breathing technique. It could be your favorite meditation app, or it could just be an uplifting podcast. Like, how about this one? Okay. A visual tool would be photos of happy memories. I've got one of those automatic picture things that goes through. It's like a plug-in montage of pictures. Could be saved motivational quotes or calming images. All right. So those are some of my best ways that I help my clients downregulate and get through this whole amygdala hijack situation. Remember, though, the best calm down kit is the one that you're actually going to use. So, how are you going to use them? You get to choose. But I'm going to give you a little bit of homework before we close up the show today. Who doesn't love homework? And you're not even going to get graded. You all get an A. I'm giving you an A right now. Pick one technique for today, one technique that I offered, and just choose it. Try it for 1 week and notice what changes. Remember, it's not about being perfect. It's just about making progress. We're not trying to never get upset. That's a double negative, but we're not trying that. We're just learning to catch ourselves sooner so that we recover faster. All right. What I would love to know is I'd love you to get back to me and tell me what worked from this, what didn't work, and if you have other ways that you use to deal with your amygdala hijack. Share your experiences with me. On Instagram and Facebook, I'm Angie Miller Fitness. On LinkedIn and my website, it's Angie Miller Wellness, or you can email me, Angie@angiemillerwellness.com. But I would love to hear from you and hear what worked, what didn't work. So until next time, just remember, you can't always control what happens, but you can control how you respond. Thanks for joining me today.